So I'm curious for you, why don't you believe?
I think the main thing is I don't believe because there's just not sufficient evidence for me to see the workings of this supernatural power that we talk about all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's just easier to say, okay, the evidence isn't there. I'm okay. I see the handiwork of human beings on this planet every day, the good and the bad. And I know that humans are capable of doing good. And there's just too many inconsistencies with a belief in a supernatural power that just made me say, okay, I'm good. We can move on with things.
But was there some like a point in your life I think you attribute to your father passing?
It was. It was around the time my father passed. I still had a belief in God, and it wasn't necessarily his passing per se, but it was just a gradual look at the world. And, again, things just didn't add up for me. So that was what really started me questioning, for instance, we hear all the bad news in the world. We see children being harmed all the time. We see even the church participating in this harm against children. And I just was questioning, why would a God who knows everything, who's all powerful, allow such a thing to happen? Either one, he doesn't know, so then he's not all knowing, or two, he knows and he just don't care. Now that's a problem.
Yeah. I have to say, I'm on my amen corner over here to like, smoke, because I hear you over here like, put me in the game, coach. I understand that feeling. I don't necessarily have those feelings. I understand it, but I'm curious your thoughts on it.
I do too. I have questions though. I'm interested. I'm not here to debunk anybody's. I'm here to talk and just listen. Yeah. And I grew up in the church. So my dad's a pastor, and I have been hurt by the church. I have been hurt by growing up in my house. You know what I mean? So I am no longer putting my faith in people. And that's when I went on my own journey to see, why do I believe what I believe? Because I was raised that way, because I was taught that way, because my friends believe. And the answer was, I believe because I was raised that way. And that wasn't a good enough answer for me. So that's when I went on my own journey. But I have a question for you.
Yes.
When you believed in God before you became atheist, why did you believe in God prior to atheism? Was it because you were raised that way, or did you have an encounter? Did you have a feeling? Did you have a knowing? Because I feel like I believed in God up until really almost 2 years ago. It's super recent. I believed because I was raised that way.
Sure.
And that wasn't enough for me. It was like, I never had an encounter with my creator. I never, that was God. That was God. But I was more religious than relationship. And I feel like recently I found a relationship with Jesus Christ through seeking him. So I want to know your experience before atheism. Why you said you believed. Why did you believe?
I think it was mostly because that was the expectations of society, of my family. I grew up, like you said, going to church every Sunday. My mother was raised by a Baptist minister from Texas. All of her side of the family are ministers. And it was just the thing that was culturally binding also. So for these reasons, I didn't really question it. It was a good fabric, a good network. I have no, like I say, these networks, and Tiffany had said this earlier, these networks have helped Black people through the years a lot. So I respect that about the church as a cultural glue for Black people. We didn't have much else, right? So does that answer your question?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
I'm just
come back to me.
because you said a lot in that just one sentence, and I'm curious. One, how did the church hurt you? If you don't mind sharing.
I would say, if you have a relationship with any human, you're going to be hurt because we're human. So I think a lot of people put the church on a pedestal because we are. Well, I'm not gonna say we. I'm back in the church now, but the church is a place where it's supposed to be godly people, right? And so when you get hurt by somebody that you put on this pedestal to be better or more spiritual or less human, it hurts more. So, I mean, I think the people in the church are just human, and I'm not any longer worshiping a pastor, a man in a church, a deacon, a usher. I'm worshiping God. Mm-hmm. So I can't put my faith in man any longer because man will fail you time after time. I don't care if it's the pastor. I don't care if it's the church mother, the first lady. I do believe that they're human. So I'm no longer putting the church on a pedestal for my salvation.
I can understand that because a lot of people will say, I don't go to church anymore because the pastor was caught stealing. Or I don't go to church anymore because the pastor cheated on his wife.
Absolutely.
Right. But it's like,
but that's not why you should have been going to church in the first place. You're trying to grow your relationship.
You went to a restaurant and got food poisoning, but you still go out to eat.
So
I get that.
Yeah.
But you said something else that I found interesting, that you did not have a relationship with Jesus until you sought him. Mm-hmm. Like in very basic, practical terms for someone who may not believe.
Absolutely.
What does that look like?
Yeah, like I said, I grew up in the church, and so 2022, November 2022, I started asking myself the questions: why do I believe what I believe? Why am I not atheist? Why am I not Buddhist? Why am I not Muslim? Why do I not believe in crystals?
Yeah. What made you ask that? Were you going through something?
I had a friend who, her articulation of God, I envied her faith. I'm like, okay, I'm a Christian, but my faith ain't like that. And for me to say I believe in something, my faith had to be heightened. Mm-hmm. Like I wasn't okay with everybody else's faith around me. They had a knowing. It wasn't just like a belief. It was a knowing. And I called 3 of my mentors in the faith. One being my dad. He's a pastor. My friend's mom at the time, and E.T. Shout out to E.T., the hip hop preacher.
Okay, I was gonna say, for our listeners,
they know. Y'all know. Y'all better Google E.T. now.
Y'all we're not talking about Steven Spielberg. No, this is somebody.
No, he is one of the biggest motivational speakers in the world. But I asked them all the same question going on this journey to find Jesus Christ for myself. Mm-hmm. Why do y'all believe what you believe? Why are you Christian? Why do you believe in Jesus? And I had hour conversations with all of them on separate occasions, and it all boiled down to 2 things: encounter, faith, and 2 of them said evidence. So I did my own research. By no means, you guys, I am not a scholar. I don't know Greek. I would love to go to seminary school just to get more information. But my belief now is rooted in encounter, because I finally got to my wits' end from like the worst year of my life and truly opening up my heart and asking God. I had a hard conversation with him. Like I cussed and everything. And I'm gonna tell y'all what I said. I was like, I am so sick of this shit. Mm-hmm. Like I am so sick of not knowing. I'm so sick of not having an anchor in my faith, swaying. I want to be anchored in whatever I believe in. If I'm atheist, I want to be anchored. Mm-hmm. If I'm Buddhist, I want to be anchored. If I'm Christian, I want to be anchored. So I was not okay with how I felt. And it took me months to actually, I sat with God. What do you do when you have a relationship with somebody? You sit with them, you listen to them, you respect their boundaries, you talk to them. I had never looked at my religion as a relationship. And I started to do that, and I seeked him and I found him. He showed me who he was instantly.
How? Like literally, what did that look like? How did he find you? How did he show you? Did you literally see somebody standing before you? Was it in physical form?
No.
Right? But those are the questions that like very practical people would
ask.
And
I'm going to share more of this on my platform, because I've never really
What's your platform? Just so we can share in platforms.
Yes. My podcast, which is new, my solo podcast, Let's Try This Again, would be Simone. But yeah, I had an encounter, and I think once you open up your heart to receiving it, I think a lot of people play with God. Like, okay, if you real, show me you real.
Yeah.
God doesn't owe us anything. He doesn't owe us that. Let's like go into your parents and being like, if you love me, Mom, give me $1,000. If you love me.
Yeah.
Girl, I pray for you. I love you. Move.
Right.
Like I love you in so many other ways than this. So I didn't make it a game with God. I was truly vulnerable. My heart was open, and I was seeking him. Like it wasn't like, if you real, no, it was like, my heart was so open that I wanted to know, Jesus Christ, if you are real, show me who you are today. And within 4 hours, I was weeping for 2 hours straight.